don't you text me at 8 o'clock in the morning? Why don't I did add it to the run sheet though. I literally, it was on my list of things to do this morning. So it's on the run sheet along with another article about violence in a prison. So why don't we
I
take a
will.
look? Why don't we take a look? Let's take a look.
I saw this. It was like, son. So ex officer Derek Chauvin, convicted in George Floyd's killing, was stabbed in prison,
Mm-hmm.
and I exercised or excised all of the strikeable comments I might have made. Like before we went live, I let out like all the things I would have wanted to say that would get us an immediate YouTube strike. So I'm good. I feel safe to engage this story at this point.
Okay. So I'm gonna let you engage
But
it because I didn't do that part.
well, I mean, it's just So as it says here, Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer convicted in murdering George Floyd, was stabbed by another inmate and seriously injured Friday at a federal prison in Arizona. A person familiar with the matter told the Associated Press. The attack happened at the Federal Correction Institution in Tucson, a medium security prison that has been plagued by security lapses and staffing shortages. So when I read that at first, I thought when I first read this, I thought medium security. He's in a medium security
Yes, he
prison.
is in a medium security prison.
But when I read the immediate rest of the sentence, I said maybe, again, I'll just leave it. I was like maybe, the person was not authorized to publicly discuss the details of the attack and spoke to the AP on the condition of anonymity. The Bureau of Prisons confirmed that an incarcerated person was assaulted at FCI Tucson at around 12:30 p.m. local time Friday. In a statement, the agency said responding employees contained the incident and performed life-saving measures before the inmate who it did not name was taken to a hospital for further treatment and evaluation. No employees were injured, and the FBI was notified. The Bureau of Prisons said visiting the facility, which has about 380 inmates, has been suspended. Right. Chauvin's stabbing is the second high-profile attack on a federal prisoner in the last 5 months. In July, disgraced sports doctor Larry Nassar was stabbed by a fellow inmate.
Mm-hmm.
In November, an inmate at the facility, low security prison camp, pulled out a gun and attempted to shoot a visitor in the head. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's you got to be careful. That's messed up. So that's as far as I really got with it. I just was trying to manage my response to that.
Yes.
For these YouTube streets.
So what I find interesting is that suddenly the Department of Corrections is clear on how to rush someone out of the prison in order to get medical services and treatment, because that is not always the case, as we know. And that's why I shared the second story that's on that row.
Right. My bad.
No. It's all good. Because this is a story that is not getting and is not likely to get very much attention. This gentleman was in Alabama. He had a 12-month sentence, and I believe it was 2 weeks before he was due to get out. He was taken from his cell and apparently held hostage in another part of the prison where he was repeatedly assaulted.
Oh my God.
And then he was moved to a hospital, to a facility where he was brain dead, and he eventually passed. And the family was told that he died from a drug overdose. And that is obviously not the case, as when they got to the hospital, he had been clearly assaulted. And that they were well aware that this was happening. And this is a facility where there is a lot of issues going on with the warden. but it's just, you know, it as someone who is watching how these different stories develop, that AP News is so like, oh my goodness, look at what happened to Derek Chauvin. But here's this story, um, and
So
there's
this
not
kid
going to
was
be
only
the
supposed to be in there for 12 months. What was he in there
12
for
months.
initially?
I'll be honest, I don't know the full history of his story. He was a drug addict, which, as everyone knows, that could be the end result of anything. Um, if he got 12 months,
Yeah, I mean,
it couldn't have been any, I don't want to say couldn't have been anything too serious, but it wouldn't have been anything.
dang,
Yeah,
that was a
that's an
lot.
awful one. So someone asked if we could drop that link from EJI
This
into
that
the chat. If you
yeah,
could drop it in there,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so they can see it. But it was just,
But
that story is
warning,
just wild.
just heads up on that
That is,
warning.
there's a, yeah, be go into reading that story, being fully aware that they are detailed about what happened while he was being held prisoner in the jail. So just know that it is not a pleasant story by any means.
I mean, it's the night.
Hey Rob, there you go. You jumping on my sheets. So also under there is another story out of
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi. Turns out there's not just one family whose loved one was buried unmarked grave in Mississippi and found out months after the fact. So there's now another family has come forward in Jackson, Mississippi to find out that their loved one was also buried in an unmarked grave in a pauper's grave, by the
Wait, where
police.
is this?
It might be the last row. Nope, lies. Mario Moore.
Oh, there it is. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah. Wow.
That wasn't on there this morning. That's why you didn't see it. That this is not your fault.
It's all good. It's all
Um,
good.
so Mario Moore was buried on the same day
Wow.
in Jackson, Mississippi, and the only reason the family found out is because the police department released a list of 24 people who had been killed,
Wow.
and the family found his name on the list. He was bludgeoned to death and just buried, and they claimed that they made an attempt to find the family, and they couldn't get in touch with anybody.
Bludgeoned
Now,
to death, wrapped in a tarp, and
in a
left on the
tar-
street.
hmm but it's the same story. He was buried with his ID, um, and they claimed they couldn't get in touch with the family. Um, Now he had been, dealing with his own issues, and the family at first, when no one heard from him because he had been known to kind of just disappear for days and weeks, they didn't really think too much about it. And apparently, it was when he did not come home for a holiday dinner that they realized something might be wrong. But they did not know what the story was until they saw his name on that list. But there's definitely some wildness happening in Mississippi if they keep finding all these bodies, people looking for their families and can't find them until whatever thing that happens that causes them to realize that, like, there's a they've been buried by the system and the family was not notified. So this all boils down to my same issue of trying to really figure out ways to inform people that the system is not what they think it is. It does not serve the purpose they think it does. It does not do the things that they're told it's done. It does via the news and TV and movies and so forth. And so, um, yeah,
And it just seems like I mean, it's the same. it's got all the hallmarks of that, the tenuousness in his story.
Mm-hmm.
Poor working class background in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like it said some low level charges for larceny or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and struggled with drugs, and was an itinerant. Was the
Yes.
word the article used, which I think is actually, I think it's a pretty fair way of describing the situation, and just somebody moving around, not likely well housed or in good shape all the time, but but not at all a threat is the way I get
Right.
the report. Like, and that's the easiest targets.
Right.
Uh,
Right. And then he was
and
buried on the same day in the same cemetery. I just there's something not right about this situation, and I don't live in Mississippi, and so I don't think I've ever even stepped foot in Mississippi. Now that I think about it, I think that's one of the states I've never actually gone to. Um, but there's there's just all this stuff happening, and I don't. There are very few conversations about all of these random deaths, people found hanging from trees in Florida, and there's no conversations happening surrounding all these things. Um, and it was worth saying, it was worth mentioning and bringing up so that people can take the time to really start looking about what's happening, what your police department is involved in your city, and what stories are coming out, because it's always, it's local. And if it's hard, people are busy and they trying to pay bills and eat and make sure they have somewhere to sleep at night. But it takes nothing to become one of the families in these stories, is what I think is the pertinent thing that people
that's the
understand,
point I was
right?
trying to get. Yeah, that's
Right,
when I was saying tenuousness. It's
right,
so close. It's just it
right,
feels so close that everybody
right,
comes to this. Yeah.
right.